So your snowblower won't start. Well, that'll happen. So a couple things that'll make that happen. So you go over to your snowblower and start out giving it a once over. First thing you want to do, check the oil. Try and keep your oil clean if at all possible. Just do an oil change first thing in the fall there, and then you don't have to worry about that. I just changed that, so it's real good. Check your fuel. Make sure your fuel is good. If it's not all summer, chances are that fuel's no good anymore. It's got ethanol and it's good for about 3 months. So you just smell it, and if it smells like vinegar or it doesn't have any smell to it at all, I would just get rid of it. Just drain that tank right out, get rid of it. And the only option with that is if you buy premium fuel that is non-ethanol, then you'll be good for a little while. But you can use a fuel conditioner if you like. But some of them have a fuel shut-off on them, and that's helpful. You can drain out the carburetor, make sure there's no fuel left in the carburetor, and just pull it over a few times with a choke on, make sure it has no fuel left, and you'll end up with a dry carburetor, and that's very helpful. And just check your augers, your shear pins, make sure your shear pins are in good shape and stuff like that. Just a little preventive maintenance. And then you can I took the 2 bolts off here. You can take your cover off and inspect your belts and make sure everything's fine there. Pretty straightforward. There's just mostly a couple of bolts on a lot of this stuff there. And then you fire it up. Some are kind of handy. Some are electric start. Some are pull start. And yeah, they come in different shapes and models, and even comes in manual. But yeah, electric start there, and this puppy won't start. You're going to be asking yourself, well, it's got to be fuel, it's got to be gas, or air. So chances are the air is going to be real good on it. And the other thing you'll need is compression. So what you want to do, just for the sake of fun here, we're going to grab this one here, and it's got electric start. This animal here, electric start, and we're going to check for spark. So we'll just turn it over. No spark. Okay, couple things that'll do that. Down here is your kill switch. That just happened to be in the off position, so we're going to go again and try that. And we have spark. So we know we got spark. So if it had no spark, it's either a kill switch, or it could be a spark plug, or it might be a coil, but that's a little more internal. But chances are you're not going to have to do that. The other thing you're going to want, you can be able to do, is just check compression. So what you do is you put your finger over the hole here like this, over your spark plug hole, and with your finger over top, just like that, and it should push your finger back, your thumb back, and it has enough pressure compression to push your thumb back. You're in good shape. It has compression. So if it does not want to cooperate like that, chances are you might have a dirty carburetor. So they come in all different shapes and sizes here. So most of them, like, you're going to find have that's either a 1/2 inch or a 7/16. The imports are going to have a 10 millimeter, and that little bolt just comes off the bottom here, like so. Hang on a sec. Little bolt just disconnects here, and just so undid that and that, and then you're going to end up with one of these animals here. So this one's nice and clean. I chose this just for that good reason. So what you're going to do is pop that little pin out that's right there like that, and come on, a little pin pops out. Then you got your float right there. Float comes out, and underneath there you got your needle, and inside of here, way down in this little hole down here, it's hard to tell. You can't really see it, but there's a little seal, a little O-ring underneath there. And yeah, and if there's no fuel getting through to there, well, chances are it's gummed up. It's gummed up pretty bad. So I have this one here that I loosened off earlier, and you can do this on the machine. You don't have to take it apart. It'll work for you. But you can see how green and gummed up that thing is. It's in pretty poor condition. And when you pull that off there, you can see inside of there, this thing's, all the fuel's dried up, and it just turns into powder and stuff when it sits over the summer. And then your carb ends up in a real ugly mess like this. So yeah, this is a big example of it. It's what you're going to have to do with that is take and put it in the tank and clear it, and now you can use a carb cleaner and clean it up, but it generally going to have to be cleaned in the tank. And this little jet underneath that I took off the bottom of the float bowl there, you can see it here. It's got a couple little holes in it. There's a little hole there. There's a little hole in the side. I'm trouble getting the focus here, but that's not it. A little hole down the side there as well, you can kind of see. So those will get plugged up. So what you want to do is use like a little tip cleaner, or what I find really handy is just at the grocery store they have these twist ties. You just burn off the little paper on the outside of that, and that'll allow you to get right up inside this tiny little venturi here. There is a little hole down in there. You just feed your wire down in there. Come on. Just run your wire down there all the way through that till there's no restriction anymore. It'll go right down to the bottom like that, and then there's no restriction, and then you got a clear passage there. Some of them will have a jet on the very bottom of the float bowl. They're adjustable, like this one here. You'll see it has an adjustment on it where you can just turn this screw like that. If it's running kind of rough, where it's hunting up and down and rough idling, chances are you just taking this will stay, but you just turn this screw in or out, and it'll get better or worse. And so what you do is you go one way until it gets bad, and then you go all the way to the other way until it gets bad. Then you find a nice happy spot in the middle, and it'll run pretty good. It's just got a little needle in it, looks kind of like this, and it restricts or increases the fuel flow. But yeah, that's about it. On your there's a couple of different styles of float too, that depending on your machine, which one it has. Another thing that'll happen, you're going to see it a lot more on your lawnmowers and stuff like that. But your underneath here, when you pull your recoil off, your shroud off, you're going to end up having looking like a flywheel like that. So what'll happen sometimes, if you hit something real hard, you can see that key right there, how it's nicely lined up in the groove on the crankshaft. Well, if it was hit something, then it's going to be sitting way over here somewhere, and it just will be ripped in half, and you'll have to take that flywheel off and replace the key on it. But yeah, that's a whole nother video. But chances are it's just it throws the timing out when that happens. So chances are what you do is you got just a little flywheel key, looks just like this. There's different styles. Goes into this little groove right there, like so. back into the groove there. And yeah, that's for your timing. So chances are, if you go to pull on it, you're using the manual start, and it decides it wants to pull your shoulder off, chances are your timing is out, and that will likely be what's wrong with it. The other things, yeah, just basic, little PM, a little maintenance, and it'll go a long ways. If you run into an issue where your drive is not working, where you put it in the engage and it doesn't drive, chances are you put it on its nose like that, very gently, and then you pull. I took the bolts out. There was only a couple of bolts in here, and then this little pan comes off the bottom, and this is what you end up looking at when you get onto the bottom. Now you can see right here is your friction wheel, like that. That engages, and when you move first to fifth gear or reverse, this just travels over back and forth like this towards the middle and gives you a faster, a slower, or a reverse speed. The problem you might run into is on this plate here. You get some contamination on it, a bit of oil, or possibly this little friction wheel is wore down. Chances are that's what's going to happen. If it's just slipping and spinning on you, check right here. You might have got a little oil contamination or something like that on it, and just get a good shot of brake cleaner on that, and that'll clean it right up. That and a rag. That seafoam's pretty good stuff for. You can put some of that in the tank, and it'll clear up a few of the carburation issues for you. If you're wondering whether it's going to, if it's a dirty carburetor, you can just use a little shot of this, a shot of ether, and squirt that into the carburetor. And if it fires, you know you got a dirty carburetor, and you just matter of chasing it down. And yeah, other than that, she's pretty basic. That'll just save you a whole lot of pulling and cursing and wondering and taking it downtown and having a fairly expensive cost. And he says, yeah, you can come right back and get it in about 6 weeks. So yeah, snow's never too far away, and that's a real rush course on that. But if you have any questions or comments on how to go about this, or why your lawnmower won't start, just leave it in the comments there, and I'll return a comment, and maybe I can help you out. Anyway, so snow's coming. Thanks for listening.